Headlines, Thursday, the 15th of January, 2009. From Tim Blair today, we've got several articles, but it's best that if you click on them, I'm not going to be reading them. They're too involved. Hamas speaks and Tim will cross over live to the Gaza Strip. Sashimi. Ever seen a sushi chef at work? Those guys are brilliant. You sure wouldn't want to take one of these sea kitten slices in a knife fight, except that a pair of idiots in Paris actually did. Two men carrying a knife and an electronic stun gun stormed the Planet Sushi restaurant in the city's Latin Quarter on Sunday night, demanding money from the till. Big mistake. The team of Japanese staff turned on the men, stabbing one to death with a fish knife used for preparing sushi dishes, while the other was pinned to the ground outside the restaurant. You could imagine one sort of like saying, this tastes pro-Joyce. Barnaby Joyce sticks it to global warming religionist Malcolm Turnbull. The view across the National Party is that the reasons put forward to justify an emissions trading scheme are just a load of rubbish, Senator Joyce told The Australian in the strongest reservations to be expressed by a senior coalition figure about an ETS. Malcolm Turnbull will probably come on board with the ETS, but that doesn't mean the National Party will support it. Senator Joyce was derisive of Rudd government's 5% reduction target for emissions. Australia accounts for 1.5% of emissions worldwide, so 5% of that is 3/5 of 5/8 of nothing, he said. It's nothing but blatant, ridiculous tokenism. Flashpoint reached. Joe Hildebrand reports from the mean streets. The soaring temperature and booze-fueled atmosphere meant the air was heavy with menace in the mean streets of inner western Sydney. Police had long feared that Newtown was a ticking time bomb. A long-established and staid radical anarcho-socialist culture had absorbed the first wave of vegetarian lesbians from Enmore, but with an influx of violently aspirational young families just across the border in Erskineville, it looked like the suburb was reaching flashpoint. Then, on Monday night, the unthinkable happened. Move away from the southeast, and you got a problem solved. Perhaps you thought honor killings had some kind of religious component. Turns out, though, it's a regional thing. In honor killings, generally prevalent among Turkey's Kurdish community, a so-called family council names a member to murder a family relative considered to have sullied the family honor. In most cases, this is because of an extramarital affair. But there have been cases where those killed had been rape victims or women who simply talked to strange men or requested a song on the radio. In recent years, the governments and civic groups have stepped up efforts to stamp out honor killings, but the practice still has considerable public support in the mainly Kurdish southeast. Big Presbyterian numbers in that area, just coincidentally. And in other news, Nathan Rees refuses to acknowledge leadership rumblings. Nathan Rees says he's not going to be distracted by reports senior members of his own party are planning to get rid of him. Steve Jobs takes leave of absence from Apple, citing medical concerns. Apple chief executive Steve Jobs will take medical leave of absence until the end of June, saying his health issues are more complex than I originally thought. And I'm sure I'm joining with many in hoping that he does get well. Marrying 10-year-old girls is okay, says the top Saudi cleric. A newspaper quotes Saudi Arabia's most senior Muslim cleric as saying it is okay for 10-year-old girls to marry, and those who think they're too young are doing the girls an injustice. Of course, I know girls not much older who feel that those who marry are doing themselves an injustice. Gaza toll passes 1,000 amid peace hopes. Israel has carried out a fresh wave of air raids across Gaza overnight, and ground forces waged more street battles as the death toll from its war passed 1,000, which really isn't very many when you consider the kinds of weapons that's being used. Osama is still the #1 threat. President-elect Barack Obama says Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden remain the #1 threat to U.S. security after a new voice recording emerged from the terror group's leader. Of course, that's exactly the same as the old policy from the old government. Obama change you can believe in. 40 degrees, Sydney scorcher prompts bushfire fears. Ford charged with dragging woman off bus by hair and robbing her. Ford to axe credit arm and 160 jobs are lost. And scientists find Marilyn Monroe hormone. Now if they can only find a Diana Rigg one.